was 100 years old, so.
Hey,
so-
you have a good life.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
that's what I'm
no,
saying.
it's-
We could, if we could only hope that we'd last that long.
Yeah, I don't know.
Exactly.
The last 2 years being in hospice care, it just,
Yeah, I wouldn't want that, I'm afraid.
All right, so this is the Comprehensive Plan Committee on January 9th, 2025. Happy New Year to everyone. We will do roll call from left to right.
Don Hernan, 33 Murphy's Way.
Michelle Felicetti, Redbrook Drive.
Kim Rollins, 49 Brock Road.
Tom Hatch, Frost Road.
And in their audience, we have one of our ORC members.
Steve Marola,
Good to see you,
Chapel
Steve.
Shores Drive.
Excellent. So I sent out an agenda earlier. There was a typo, but the typo was given to me. I did think, wow, 1918 is 1981 on that little, on that document that I sent you guys. Basically, just tonight is to get where we are. So last meeting we had talked to ORC about kind of joining comp plan and what's going to be happening going forward with comprehensive plan. Is ORC is going to kind of put a pause on what they're doing to get CPC through as fast as we can with the help of Southern Maine Planning. So the Maine Planning, we have the contract went to the town manager, and now it's just a matter of waiting to see budget passes to make sure it all goes through. The monies that are needed have been asked for, and now we'll be waiting for town meeting.
Okay, so
Between
how much was that contract roughly?
$40,000 for the entire thing. That's with all the maps, all the
But is
data.
that, but will that money have to be appropriated this year? I mean, for this next fiscal year?
Yes.
So there'll be,
So this June.
that's what I'm saying, for the next fiscal year.
Yes, yes. We have some money left over that they're using to work with what they have. Like, I think, what's the name of the map? The, I can't say it. Peg would know it right off the top of her head. The map that they're supposed to.
Oh, not the, when the environmental was.
No, it's the, why can't I say it? Peg's probably going, Michelle, when she watches this. Anyways, they're working on a map. It was one of the maps that we kind of needed.
Yeah.
That's gonna be done sooner than like the rest of the stuff that, that's being asked for. So, but it's gonna be, they're gonna get to us piecemeal as they go. But between now and when CPC has the whole thing done, as we get it in chunks, our job, we decided, is to make sure that we get the word about over and over again in front of everyone's face what we're doing. Survey number 2 has been submitted to the town manager.
Yeah,
That is slated to go out on the 20th.
that'll be on the MailChimp thing.
They'll be on MailChimp, they're gonna put it on the town website, and from there, anyone can blast it on their personal pages or any of the group pages. And so the other thing with that is, she's gonna let it run, I think it was for like 3 weeks. There's gonna be paper copies here.
Yeah,
So basically, the good thing to know is that, okay, it's going out the 20th. If we can, between now and the 20th, and now from 20th on, have flyers or things that we're posting that talk about comprehensive plan and what it is, and asking questions and getting people's, input. That's what we're looking for, is everyone in the town's input. That was why that interesting question that was on the agenda I sent out about what attracted people to Lyman. George had emailed that to me saying, hey, back in 1981, there was an exit survey about what do people think about this. So, and that was kind of good. It's like, yeah, what does draw people to Lyman now? What is their reason for wanting to come here, or are they stuck here? Don, you're laughing.
no, I just think it depends on, a lot on, like, where you are currently living.
Correct.
Whether you have relatives here possibly, or if you had maybe lived here as a child, or if you're coming, like in my case, we came in from out of area and we ended up building a house here, but that was more happenstance in some respect.
Right. And that's just it. So what,
Otherwise, you wouldn't have had me here.
it'd be interesting to know from people why they're here.
Yeah,
Did they move here because of a reason? Was it the rule, the small community, close to a job? Are they like, I'd like to get out of here, but there's nowhere affordable to move at this point?
well,
I mean, there's so many different dynamics too. Why are they here? Why are they not here? Why did they come here? Why did they choose not?
well, wait, what is that? I have no objection to trying to get that information, but I'm not sure.
I think I understand the
How
point.
that helps us too much.
I feel like it would only help us if we paired it with a question of how long have you lived here, and then why did you move here?
That would
Yes.
work.
Because I think about myself, I've been here 30 plus years. So why I moved here 30 plus years ago would be very different than if I moved here
Gotcha.
5 years ago,
Right.
most
Yeah.
likely.
Probably.
You know, because maybe 30 plus years ago it was because of, financially the cost of property and so forth was within my budget to purchase property here versus say Biddeford or Saco if I was working there. But nowadays, maybe it's not, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
that's a good point.
it's almost like if the time frame could make a difference.
Right.
In people's reasoning.
Or are people staying here because they have,
People now are buying because it is unaffordable to buy other places.
Yes.
Probably unaffordable to buy here too. Wouldn't be surprised. I don't know,
Or-
I'm not in real estate or anything.
Right. Or that they had a parcel big enough, they can have their kids live here. Their kids can go live.
Yeah, and that's,
Oh, wonderful.
that ties into a zoning
Correct.
issue.
Which is again, the reason we're asking these questions.
Yeah, okay.
And that's where that, why are you here? And like, I bought the parcel hoping someday my kids would move back or my kids would,
Yeah.
pass the land down to my children or, I'm a developer and I bought this 15 years ago to develop in my retirement years. I mean, we don't know people's thoughts, processes when they bought their land. And that is just to get a grasp on what do they want going forward for this town?
Well,
We know, looking at what came out from the fire department services, how many, 100, 1,000,
1,000.
we're over 1,000 calls now.
Oh, yeah.
was there 1,024?
I was gonna say 1,024, 25, something like
Yeah.
that, something like
I
that.
remember when it was 800.
Yeah, and that was like crazy. But, and even speaking to the chief, one of the things that was happening is that, actually, definitely because of COVID, which did alter so much for all of us. It became a way for the elderly to get help going to the hospital, or it was their only avenue for transport. Because,
You talking
Sir.
about me again?
Don, you're slop right, I hate to tell you.
Yeah, I
so.
know, I'm trying. Well, okay, so the surveys and
Uh-huh.
then what else? Are we really stuck
Can I ask
until we
a
wait?
Yes,
Oh, on your survey, so you said it's the second.
yes.
How many are planned?
As many as we can do. We're gonna, every time we do a survey, it gives us the data we collect gives us information to ask to more zone in and even more questions to our next survey. And it's also different areas too. We're gonna have eventually stuff on environment, the facilities and the services the town has. Right now, we haven't even gotten to that. Right now, it's definitely more about, I think, geographics and age and how far they are from where they were.
On your first survey, how many responses were there?
160, does that sound right?
It wasn't a
The
super.
population is
44.
4,400.
44.
Was that count kids too, or was that adults?
That's registered voters, I think there's 3,000 something, but I think like all told something with the census. It was
So
what's-
less than 5% response.
And that's normal, unfortunately.
But is everybody getting it? I live up on Waterley Pond,
Mm-hmm.
and I have several older, my wife and I are in our 70s, we've got neighbors that are older.
Mhm.
They're just not on the internet, they're not on email, they're not, so there's no way to tell how many people are actually aware of the survey.
No, and that's what our job as these committees is to get out there and get these people educated or get them a paper copy if we know of a group of people that don't
Is
do
it too
email.
expensive to actually put a
Thousands
piece
of,
of junk mail?
thousands of dollars.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, but
Even to
everybody has
slip it in like the Shaw's Market Basket ad?
We are hoping that's something that I talked to the town manager about, and I said, eventually, but you can't, the funny thing is you can't put a survey in the newspaper. We might be able to take an ad out that the comprehensive plan is seeking your information, stop at the town hall for a hard copy. We could do something like that.
The only thing we really get in our mailbox are these weekly flyers and stuff. And sometimes, I know there's always an insert from these window people. Is
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
expensive to
Yes.
do? To-
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's the problem. That's where we wind up with. So things that we talked about, and I don't know if you watched some of the meetings that we talked about doing is not right now because we will all be popsicles if we did it. But I have also for other things I've been on, it's gone up and sat up the transfer station and just handed out flyers.
Yeah.
Been there just for here's this. If you have questions, contact the town hall. There's a QR code if you want to scan it. Stand here and talk to me. Come to a meeting. Like just to, in a very nice way, be in everyone's face about it. Because everyone's always, you do always hear from the population that's the loudest. there might be a very small pocket
Yeah.
that definitely likes to scream from the rooftops their opinion, but you don't get the true feel for the entire town. It seems you get the true feel for the entire town when a big vote comes out, like we did this past election.
But even then, unfortunately, I hate to be a wet blanket, but, you know, I did a shift there at the ballot box, and a lot of people
Yep.
had no
Totally.
clue of
Correct.
the changes that the ordinance review committee had put in.
Well, they didn't understand them. I had a lot of calls, and I didn't realize how nebulous the questions were until my wife, what she likes to do, even though we come in person and vote, she
Yeah.
likes to get an absentee ballot.
Correct.
So she can read through it, and she said to me, if I didn't know what you guys were looking for,
Wouldn't
she
know.
said, I would vote for any of these. Or the tendency is for people to either vote a blanket yes or no, but there was no
Yes.
understanding.
No, and that is something that, that's hard because
Yeah,
it really
that's-
truly is up to a voter to be educated. The information was there if they wanted to look for it. Even before they got their ballot in their hand, it was on the table right there. But once we handed them the ballot, there was nothing we could do.
They look at their duty to vote as just coming through the door,
Right.
not looking for handouts. Let me get this over
But that's the
with.
same as saying, oh, I'm gonna get a mortgage and not read the paper or
Yeah.
understand it, or
Well,
get a car.
yeah, and there was also public hearings, there
Yeah,
were
yeah, there
committee
was,
meetings, there, everything's, we've gone electronic, there, I mean, there, what else can you do? You
Carry your
know,
pigeon. No, I'm kidding.
you know, skywriting, I don't know.
And to me, it was even frustrating to see people posting, well, I voted no, because I didn't know what it even meant. These committees work so hard.
Now,
I would rather have seen a blank than voting no, because it's like, there's so much work and effort that's put in by so many great people in these committees.
We
that
had
it's-
no one show up at audience review.
Yeah.
I mean, unless something, it seems like directly
I,
affects someone.
you're,
like,
you're, you're,
they're
you're,
not
Preaching to the
interested.
choir.
you're singing my tune.
Well,
I mean,
and like-
that's, I hate to say this again, most people don't care about zoning until it affects them.
Right. What I would like to see too,
Which
which is a silly one,
is
is
fair.
I would like to see a survey go out about when people can make a meeting. Because you have people who have kids who really want to be involved, but their kids are in sports and they're traveling everywhere. So maybe it has to be a Friday night meeting. Maybe it has to be a Saturday morning meeting. I mean, there's going to be some that you might get a larger group. If we just think outside of the 6 o'clock on a Tuesday during the week. Like my son has practice on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'm out. My husband's taking him, so I'm here. But, and then he
Yeah, I
has games on Saturdays at 10 and 1. So,
Yeah.
and then sometimes it's on Sundays. So there's all these things, but, with a Friday night, come and have a slice of pizza with us and have a talk. I mean, getting a flavor for when people want to meet, because I think that is something that we've always hit our heads against, is when no one shows, you go, why aren't they here? Because people know about it, but why?
Unfortunately, I mean, is the sad truth that a lot of them just don't care.
Yes.
Well, again, as I
I
say,
would
well,
hope that's not
you know,
really.
I don't want to play the same tune again,
Unless
but
it's
if it doesn't
controversial.
affect you personally, most people don't care about zoning.
Yep.
I mean,
Plus-
once they buy their house, maybe when they're buying a house, they say, oh, this is like when I bought our house, we got our house, it's residential. I didn't look up the zoning to see what that encompassed. I said, oh, sounds nice, residential.
Yeah.
If they'd said general purpose, maybe I would have looked up, I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyhow, so I just think we should keep going, but I'm not trying to throw a wet blanket, but I don't get discouraged if we only get 100 back.
No, and that's just it. And we could get 50 back and I'll still take it. It's better than nothing.
Yeah.
And I've asked Lindsay to post a link to all the surveys that we do going forward. So like survey number 2 will have a link to survey number 1 if you didn't fill it out.
With results?
Yes, we were getting those. The results I think I'll have her post those online too. I'll ask her to do that. But for each survey that we have, we're going to have a link on each one to every single one that we do. So if they haven't done it, they can go back and do it. So, because
Okay.
you want
Can
their
I ask one
information.
more question before you have to scoot up? What is it expensive to do, you have labels available for everybody in the town? Just making the copies and having volunteers fold and do a bulk mailing? I mean,
It's
when I started my business, of course, that was 4
It's
years
thousands
ago,
of dollars.
did bulk mailings and it was cheap. It was like 10 cents for me to get
Yeah.
something in someone's hands, but I suppose.
Not anymore.
Not today, because how much is a stamp? 50.
First class stamp at 73 cents.
Is
And
it?
then.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're looking at
What
that,
Mail.
about a bulk
Christmas
mail rate?
No,
we looked
it's-
into that.
Really?
We can't do that. So you're looking at
That's it.
$4,000.
Yeah, by the time you get through
It's too much.
I mean,
So-
something we could look at is, I mean, the school systems do allow things like, say, from the town, if you're advertising for Little League, to let notices go home. We could ask if
For
we
the
could,
Lyman school.
But
Do a
that's still
notice.
not gonna get into a lot of household, it's.
well,
It
I
will, 'cause it
mean,
goes
I
in the
have
kids'
other
it goes in the
ideas.
kids'
Well,
filters.
But at least we could come up with a flyer that went home with all school children, Lyman school children, with at least a link for Lyman parents. Then you have Keywood, so you have another population there. So you have their, whatever their community
communities.
centers.
Yeah, community
know,
center.
They put out a newsletter every month, that we could have paper copies that
Yeah.
people in Lyman that live in that area or that community could go pick up, or could have a link that they could do, so we could try to reach people there, or they could pick up here. So, trying to think of all these
That's a
places,
good one.
any stores we have that would allow us to
Yeah.
put,
Also putting
Goes
paper
out.
surveys like in the Goodman's Mill store. Or
Right.
the Jackson Corner, that makes sense.
right,
I'm
so
so sorry, I
thinking
need
about
to
all those
excuse
different
myself,
pieces.
See,
It was interesting. Well, thank you.
Bye-bye. Good to see you. Thanks for coming.
Michelle, I'm just looking at Goodwin's Mills fire. They put something out. It was incidents was 1,062
Oh, it
Wow.
was-
as of December 31st. 1,062, 247 incidents in Dayton, 642 incidents in Lyman, mutual aid given 173, and multiple incidents 157. They have been
Wow.
busy.
Yeah. It's good
Busy,
that you
busy.
have to hire those extra people. Mm. But that's not gonna stop, even if we don't
It's gonna
go,
increase.
that's not gonna
Probably gonna
stop.
get worse.
It's gonna
Not
worse.
Probably increase. I
It's
should
going
say,
to
not
increase,
Yeah.
again, because our
Older
population
population.
is the point that they're gonna be making phone calls. A lot of them don't have people living with them to help them, they're in their homes, they can't afford to have assistance.
The only other thing I would say is everyone comes in to register their cars at least once a year. Most people have more than, I shouldn't say, many people have more than one car. Some people have many cars.
Right,
Hmm.
right,
And you gotta have some level of responsibility. And if survey information or just information is available when they register a car, if it's there, if they want to take it, they can take it. But if people don't want to be involved, you can't force them.
No, you can only do so
And then
much.
you wait until the vote, and then you try to have, again, the public hearings and stuff and get the information out. But again, it's up to and people, and I don't want to be cynical about it, but I mean, I think all you can do is make your best effort and then say, okay, we had the information, it was available, and then you hope that enough people are informed that you'll get a representative turnout and a representative, I mean, it won't be, I don't know, like blank ballots. You
Right.
don't want to get a whole bunch of blank ballots, because that just shows people don't know.
Right.
But anyhow, that's my 2 cents, which,
I'll turn this on, because I'll show you a couple things that,
Anyway.
I was able to get.
you want to move this little thing?
Yes, sir, that'd be lovely, no problem. So wait for that one to go on, and I'll be happy. Okay. So Peg had done up a lovely little flyer in her spare time, poor lady. And I also was able to get some information from Southern Maine Agency on Aging. I had reached out to them, I think I talked about it before, to find out what they do for services here for people in Lyman. So let me get, should have done that with those over there, it's not a good thing. Should do it. There we go. So,
Huh.
can everyone see that? I can make
Okay.
it bigger. Low, sorry.
SMAA, Southern Maine,
Agency on Aging.
Agency of Aging.
So this is what they gave me for information for 2023-24
Wow.
for what they receive for the elderly that receive services here in Lyman. Which really wasn't very many, but again,
No.
I don't think many even know about their service. And that's another thing that we have too, is that, again, like Steve was saying, the outreach to our town of people knowing what services are available in our area. We have a lot of people that are truly underserved because we don't have a good communication processes in this town to get information out. I mean, that's something we're not gonna solve with CPC.
Hmm.
But I think it's something that we have to be aware of, like you said, maybe going to Keywood Manor and having, the surveys drop their paper, and then we go around in 3 weeks and pick them up.
Right. They
Well,
put out
let me
a
ask you
newsletter.
something. I mean, instead of beating ourselves up that we can't and we
Right.
don't, what do other towns do?
Yeah. It's a good-
And what's their success rate? What's an Arundel do?
I don't know. Those are good
It's a good
questions.
question.
You know,
So let me do that.
I look at the explanations that have been put online when people have been during the voting, when they were, upset that they didn't understand what was on the ballot. But when the explanation came out of what we had, it was quite a few bulleted items of what was available. Was that enough? Was that more than a normal town does? I thought it was pretty comprehensive. You can always do more. I mean, but you can only do so much that, like Don was saying, at some point in time, that you got to just call it.
Yeah.
But how is towns our size getting information out?
I think that's a really good idea, but to maybe check Waterboro. So who do you think we should, Arundel?
Rundle, Waterboro, Alfred.
All right, I think those three,
That's good.
I can do a generic email and get it to all three towns.
Yeah.
Town managers or select boards over there and see what I get for information, their CPC, find out how they get information out to their constituents when they have issues they want them to be aware of.
See if they have
And
any
what's-
statistics like we do.
Do they have any greater success with certain things?
Yeah.
Does anyone think it's a good idea to even potentially try doing a small survey in general, not just for CPC, but for anything for the town, for when people can attend a hearing?
Could be a question. I don't know if I would do it as a separate one.
No.
Mhm.
I mean, it could be included or it could be a separate one, but.
I mean, just coming from the
But-
town, not necessarily us.
Remember though, still, like, I haven't looked at the website for a while, but there was something in there, again, it says, do you want to volunteer for a committee? And there was, looks like we need people on almost every committee. I don't know. So, I mean, there's a lot of information on the town website that you gotta look at.
You know, I'm hoping that the library does another outdoor yard sale in the spring, because then manning a table there, you're there all day for Lyman residents with the things. You know, like I said, I know Peg and I were willing to go up to sit at the transfer station on weekends and hand out flyers and QR codes and whenever we can and our schedules allow. Because I just to think at this point, if they say, well, where were you? Well, I was at the transfer station. I'm gonna keep track of dates. I mean, I'm gonna list everything we've done to get information out there into the people's hands, because it's gonna be a lot that I hope we can do.
Yep.
This is what Peg came up with, which I thought was great. So this is the planning process that she did. Peg, I hope this was okay to share this tonight. I don't know your full vision on this, but I am just letting everyone see it tonight, so they can see
Yeah.
what she was, did she send it to you guys, or she was bringing hard copies for everybody?
Pretty good.
I
Nice
think it
visual.
explains the process pretty well.
Yep.
And this is kind of like the first step to the public.
Yep.
So if everyone thinks this is good, if there's anything they would change or do different, we can, I'm sure she'll get this to all of us, maybe I'll
Yeah, get a
email it to
copy or
everybody.
something.
That way we can decide, when to put this out, like the survey is coming out, so that's, this can be one of our flyers that we put out there that we're gonna be blasting through the town, they're asking to be
Now, there's
blasted.
okay, you want to knit or not?
Yeah. Of course I want your knit, Dawn.
On number 2, it should say collect demographic data, DATA.
Oh, okay, so I mean,
Up there, you see
yeah,
it?
I can't change it because it's not.
I'm just saying if you want to,
Yeah.
I got to perform my function.
Please do. So number two, collect
Minor item.
data.
No, I think it's good. It shows the
Okay,
process.
any other knits? Because I'll send them to her when we're done.
Let's see what else. My facts, data.
I'm not going to even try to look at that.
So short, goals. Okay.
Everything else look good?
Let's see here. Rank the goals and the objectives.
So I looked at Arundel's comprehensive plan because they do put their survey information in there.
Uh-huh.
They mailed out a survey. They mailed out 1,400 surveys.
Wow.
Received back 309, which is 22%.
One minor item,
Yes, sir.
It says, number 6, hold public hearings, prepare your plan. Oh, I would say, okay, because this is
She
a
means
process.
the
Okay,
towns,
that's fine, that's
their,
fine.
the people's,
That's okay,
the will of
gotcha,
people.
gotcha.
shall we say.
And what's that, create?
Yeah,
I'll
create a
create
plan
a
to
plan.
monitor the impact.
I think it gives a good general
Yeah.
look at the way things go.
And one other thing that Peg and I had looked at, there was a cute little video on comprehensive plan and also about growth in towns that we're gonna try to do a little snippet thing, and get little catchy things to grab people's attention.
What was it, on YouTube or something?
It was really good. It was really good.
What, from what source?
I can't remember.
Oh,
It's been a while, but I was like, oh my God, that would be perfect. I have a few nephews that do that kind of thing, so I might have them help me.
they're influencers?
Yes. Well, they do video things.
Gotcha, I got it.
So all that being said,
Okay.
what do you view, or any of you view, is which is where I'm going to take notes for flyers, what do you view is most important to get out there in front of people?
Hmm. The problem I'm having is that, again, I might be a little cynical. It's hard to get people to say what they want until they see, or what they would like until they see some sort of a concrete, in other words, let's take zoning.
Uh-huh.
We have 3 zones, right?
Yep.
We all know that we have 3 zones, and if I were to ask, well, how many more zones would you like? That I might get a response back. But if I were asked to say, or said, okay, here's our 3 zones, and we want to go from those 3 zones to say 5 zones. Even if we didn't give the exact dimensions or the geography of each zone, but we'd say zone, we had 5 zones, and we could show what is allowed now, or what the terminology is for 3 zones, and we went for 5 zones. And maybe that would get a response, but it's more specific.
Hmm.
And when you ask for things like,
But that's for surveys. I'm talking flyers to get the information about comprehensive plan after, like the one she did. So
Oh.
what would be a simple flyer to do up regarding a issue or a thought on comprehensive plan and what it does for a town? Or why input is invaluable, or what aspects it could impact someone's life here in Lynden.
the plan really doesn't do anything for the
Correct.
town
Correct.
until it is actually implemented.
Correct.
And that is where, in the last one, I was on the last committee, and, again, it wasn't very big, et cetera, but the activities were all assigned to the different groups that had responsibility, mainly board of selectmen, planning board, things like that. But very little probably got done, because those boards and committees had other activities that were time consuming.
Right.
And that is the problem I see with it. It's just implementation. It's one thing to have a great plan. It's another thing to have it broken up to the point where the pieces are maybe easily achievable or more easily achievable.
Mhm.
And I'm not offering much help here, but I'm just saying that it's a problem. And I don't know what the answer is, because we're dealing primarily with people who are, even if they're town employees, like on the planning board, you get paid, whatever, you're still more of a volunteer than anything else.
Mhm.
Because it's not it isn't your full-time job, it's not even your half-time job.
So do you think more or less flyers that is, maybe this is dumbing it down, but maybe this is what we do, that have really good graphics and are really short and sweet, like 10-second read?
Yep,
You-
because
is
I
that
know
what
stuff that I
everyone's
get,
That's
it's
a-
too comprehensive.
thinking? If it's more than 30 seconds, you're out.
Yep.
Okay, so flyers need to be
That's-
short,
Good point.
sweet.
And,
10-second
this isn't when you do stuff like it, it's third grade level.
Correct.
That's where, that graphic, that said a lot right there.
Right.
Boom. It's got color, it's got
Yeah, if you
numbers.
had to
it's got
write
this.
that out, you'd have 10
Okay.
pages.
Exactly.
And it's just
So
going to be a
concentrate-
QR code to.
QR codes
Yeah.
on it. QR
Yeah,
code and our email
Maybe
address.
if you want to take some of that and go to a QR code to get detail, if somebody
Yeah.
really wants to
For
dig
further
into it,
detail, boom. and
boom,
that's
you go
what
there and then they can
need.
go and read if they have time for that.
Right, okay. QR code and our email address. So people can actually email questions, concerns, thoughts.
Okay.
Do you think, so we're gonna keep them really simple, really cool graphics that grab their attention, 10 seconds on maybe an issue that comp plan covers, but very short, sweet, not a lot of info, they want more, here's a QR code,
Mhm.
here's a link to go there. That's basically what we're
Yeah,
gonna do.
that's, for people who have a short attention span, which unfortunately seems to be quite a few people.
Right.
Because of the way information is packaged nowadays. Some of those people actually subscribe to the print newspaper, even though, oh well, we won't go into that right now.
Don, they don't even have to memorize the times tables anymore, they get a sheet to carry with them.
Oh, you don't even go there, yeah.
True story, because my son pulled it out, I'm like, you're cheating, he goes, no, we're allowed to use this. And I double checked.
A time tape, what do you mean, times? You mean like a multiplication
Oh,
table?
yeah.
Yeah.
What?
They don't memorize it anymore. They're given the sheet. They don't have to
No.
memorize it.
Kidding.
No,
Oh.
I'm not kidding. Okay, neither, I digress. So I have flashcards at home.
Oh my
Older
God.
mom syndrome. I'm like, you're gonna learn
Oh.
something.
People can't make change when you buy something.
No.
They don't
So-
have
The
computers.
computers go down,
They're
that's
done.
all over.
So that's why, again, it is, attention span's very short. There's not a lot of memorization in there. So yeah, I think that it is I think you're right. So short and sweet, nothing too difficult or meaty, and then hopefully it just grabs them enough for people. It's enough for people to know something's going on. And maybe every flyer could say, look forward to public meetings.
Mhm.
So everyone always knows there's gonna be a public meeting.
I think one of the links should be, and I just pulled it up there, is to the 2019 comprehensive plan. To give them a flavor of what
Yeah,
we have. And, to your point, you got to make it achievable, Don,
yeah, I mean,
yeah.
it's, and I'm not, I'm not trying to criticize any group that was assigned action.
Oh, no, no.
That was before we had a town manager who was a full-time employee.
Yeah.
And,
So many things have changed. I
Yeah,
mean,
so-
and we're going in the right
I
direction.
hope so. Yeah,
So
we are.
let's make it workable that, if you have, I've read this before and it was like, those are some big goals. And
Yeah,
that's a lot of work.
All right.
it is, that's the issue.
So I've put that in here,
How many registered voters did you say we have approximately?
3,400 or 3,700.
Well, in this 2019, there were over 3,400 voters listed in Lyman.
So it's like
2019.
Yeah, so it's like 3,700, I think is our number,
Mm.
if I remember correctly. I know we had quite a few registrations this past year.
Yeah.
Some of them even happened the day of the voting.
Oh, a lot. I think we had hundreds that registered that day.
Which I
It was
thought was
crazy.
Crazy.
It was. Poor, our registrar was very busy.
Yes,
Um,
okay, all right.
Yeah, so that's all I mean, like I said, I figured tonight's meeting would be kind of short. There isn't a lot of discussion. We haven't heard any more from Southern Maine Planning.
When will we have anything back from them?
Michaela's, that
Based
stupid
on the
map.
funding, so
Oh, I can't remember what it's called. That map are
the,
I'm not gonna remember it even
Okay.
tonight. So that big map that kind of is an overall consensus of our town, that's part of this year's contract with SMPDC.
Right.
We should be getting that soon,
okay.
in the next month or so, I think, was my understanding. I can double check on that. And then I think and there was one more thing that she was gonna get us that was part of the contract we did with them. And then that's it for them until we get the renewals, which June is not far away, quite frankly. It seems like, oh my God, this will take forever. June's right around the corner.
Well, then the only hope will be that they have staffing to implement.
Yeah.
Assuming we can get the funding.
If we get the funding, we do have the staff. We have we have them committed. We have someone over there that's
Okay.
taking it on. So we do have someone that is, Jamal is his name, is gonna be taking over with Michaela, but he's gonna be taking the lead on the next section. That's the
As long as
big.
there's a consistent person.
Yes, he would be the one, I think, leading our full entire comprehensive plan. So that's kind of where we are, but my biggest thing is I want to make sure that we are making up flyers and doing little things just to get out there in front of everyone so they know we want to.
Just one other question. Okay, comprehensive plan, but then what about the ordinances?
So that is.
I know that's afterwards, what I'm saying, but as far as Southern Maine is concerned, are they
I
just,
don't know if
they just doing the comprehensive
They're just
plan
doing
for
the
30 grand or
comprehensive
whatever
plan
it
for the
is?
40 grand.
40 grand?
So ORC is gonna have to ask for monies towards there, and I know that you guys have some in there now.
Yeah,
To go towards whatever help they're gonna want from Southern Maine Planning. going forward.
yeah, because I mean, it's one thing to have, there's nothing, you have to have a comprehensive plan. I'm not saying you don't have to have one.
Correct.
But once you have the plan, the implementation,
Correct.
especially with the zoning, is the important part.
Correct,
I mean, not the important part, the more important part, in my opinion.
correct.
So that's where I think, it's hard for the town to really redo the ordinances because I think you need somebody personally, I haven't served the planning board, you can say, well, the planning board can do it. No, the planning board usually fixes errors or tries to fix errors and things like that. But they're not gonna do a comprehensive book.
Correct.
Where somebody from the outside can say, okay, wait a minute, based on your comprehensive plan, overlook, here's the town demographics, et cetera. Here's a possibility, you have these many zones and have this, that, and the other thing, it'll make the town work a lot better, maybe.
Right. I
So,
mean, there's also a lot of stuff in the ordinances that contradict each other.
yeah, but that's
Which-
correctable, but.
Right, correct, but need to be found, and then also, but even finding them now is the point, because you don't know what's really gonna be
Yeah,
wrong
It's a waste of time.
until the comp plan is done. Because you might have one part of the ORC that's correct, and negates getting rid of both parts. So that's the problem, is until the comprehensive plan is done, ORC doesn't have its roadmap.
No,
you know.
I know, that's a problem.
Yeah, so I know it's painful to think it's gonna be that much longer, but,
So I know I
Okay.
wasn't at the last meeting, but the meeting before, we had said we were going to really work on those
We were.
sections.
and we
And
found out
that's
that we
kind of
should,
thrown out.
we've been told just to,
Okay,
they're doing the entire
because
thing.
I don't know if you saw.
I did, I
had
meant to respond, it
totally
was so
looked through
good
that
too.
Arundel thing, and I was like, wait. We're paying a lot of money for some work we could do. Like, I reached out to the environmental piece at the state, and they were like, oh yeah, we actually wrote that for
So they-
Southern Maine Planning
Hmm.
on like this,
And-
and they just print that in. We could write that for your town. And I was like, oh, so I just reached out to you. They're like, yeah, and actually we would almost mimic Arundel's because your whole thing is exactly like Arundel's. Like, and I'm like, okay. So then I
Yeah, it's
reached
like,
out to another place, and I'm like, all these sections and like things about like our, our government, and I'm like, those are all things that are us. That has
Right.
nothing to do with Southern Maine Planning. We can write that because it's literally some of it's right in our
Right.
Lyman Town book.
And unfortunately, because of the way they do it in their roadmap that they follow to do a comprehensive plan, they feel they need to garner and gather this information for us, which is why we're stuck with
Okay,
the 40,000.
because I mapped out volume 1
Yeah.
and volume 2.
Yeah,
I mapped the entire volumes out. I was like, one day it was
because
like
we
cold
told them we
out.
were
I was
doing
like,
this.
literally, we would be paying them. We just really need them to do the data part,
Mhm.
If
And
I
we
could get
tried
in
to
my
explain
nerdy
that
self
we
for
were
about
doing it,
1 week, I could probably do some of that.
and they were, that was
Okay.
not, they weren't
Well,
willing
wasn't that the
to,
direction they gave us originally?
sort of kind of when they thought we
Right.
were, yeah.
Okay,
So,
All right.
yeah, it's unfortunate that that's the way that it's being done, but that's gonna be,
That's
the way it
okay.
goes.
That's their process.
Yeah, it's their process, so if they miss part of the process, they feel like they're not fully
They don't want to be held accountable.
correct, they don't wanna
If
have
they
to
don't
be.
have it controlled.
I did find out though, which is also something we as a committee would have to look at, because this would be something Southern Maine Planning does. I contacted the drinking water program for the state of Maine. Because as we're looking at places for zones, we have a large, or is that artisanal? Is that the right word? We have large water sources under our county,
Yeah,
according to the maps. So as we're looking at zones, you want to have protected areas for a potential water source, for a potential down the road. You would need an engineer, there's a permit process to go through. And then the zones around it would have to be done a certain way, because you
Oh, yeah.
can't have a gas station right next
Right.
to the water source.
yeah.
When
That
I
would-
did
that would
speak to
change
a
a lot of
woman
things.
up there, it's very fascinating that I said to her, she's like, oh, that's so strange, because most towns already have the town water set up. I'm like, okay. Because Waterboard does, I don't think Alfred does. Do they have
Yep,
Alfred
they
does
do.
have town water, that's right. So we're like the last of the Mohicans people. As far as, she said most towns, but you also need someone certified to run your water.
Limerick does.
Mm-hmm. So you would need a certified person, which she said anyone can get certified to do it, but someone always has someone certified to run the water, and monitor it. But she said most towns already have this established. What?
Most towns
That's
do.
what I call it. Anyhow.
Wow.
So again, we're a little behind there. But we do, when you look at the maps that were already given for data that was already collected, we have huge, like the colors show, she said, oh yeah, you guys are full of great water sources. And there was,
I'm
they
just trying to
gave
think of
me,
the cost of,
I don't
cost of
know.
town water would be
Oh,
You'd have to look at water.
astronomical.
Well, that's a good question to ask Waterboro and Alfred and Limerick.
Alfred
Well,
so
just-
is privately owned, and
Really?
Lawrence is privately owned.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're not owned by the towns.
Oh. Well, like Lake Erie has their own water source
Right.
for Limerick and Waterboro.
Keywood has their own water source.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, so Lyman does have a water source.
But
But
Privately
yeah,
owned.
there's Alfred's, there's, I think like the town, like the water company is owned by a private entity. Like
Really?
it's not a town.
But it's to the town.
Right.
Huh.
Like it's a,
And I don't know how far
I only
Waterboro's
know that from
goes.
their Facebook page.
Anywho,
Because of comments.
Yeah, I did see some.
Yes, so it is owned by not the town.
Right, right. So that's something else as we're looking at zones, and areas on the map or like environmental things that come out in the data that we do get.
Yeah.
That we should, if the main planning can't help us with it, find out the area that should be protected. That'd be great. And it might be a little pocket that's just,
Well, that should be part of their, I hope that's part of
I
their
hope
scope
it
of
is too,
work.
so it's something we should definitely look for them to do. But I have nothing else. Does anybody have anything else?
No, I just feel, I guess I'm just a little frustrated because it seems like it's gonna, as I said last time, I may be dead before this thing is over. But
You're not that lucky, Don. You're not that lucky.
it's keeping me alive, the frustration.
there you go.
See, we're doing you a favor.
But it's just a little frustrating because of the timeline, that's
It
all.
is.
And
It is.
I don't know what else we can do, because I do think we need outside help. I don't think we're gonna get a good result if we try to do the whole thing in-house. And
Well, I think we'd get a lot of questions from, unfortunately, people who would criticize and be more apt to critique and blame a committee for going a certain direction, and I don't want that anymore. I'm tired. I
we
just
need an
want-
overall look, I think, especially for
efficiency.
establishing the zones and things.
We need a
The
professional.
details, maybe you do internally, just, you can tweak those, but you gotta have some kind of an overall look
Yes.
that gives a professional look at, okay, here's the town, and what can we do reasonably if we're gonna have more zones? With 3 zones,
We can't do anything.
well, you can, but I mean,
Yeah.
and then we have, anyway, we
You
get
need,
into
you
it.
need someone that doesn't have a dog in the fight.
Yeah,
Is what you need looking at this, because basically if you live here, yeah, you do have feelings about this, but you need someone with a professional view that can look at the entire town without giving a flying fig about,
And
oh,
look
well,
for-
this person over here wants this or that person.
well, yeah,
It's like, this is logistically what makes the most sense for your town, and what we've seen from
for
all the other
long-term,
towns
long-term goals.
that we've
That's-
seen. And they're dealing with the state pet house every day.
Yeah, good
New
luck.
laws that are coming through. This is what they do for a living. They're trained to do this or educated to do this.
Yeah.
And we have to trust their information and their sources. And that, again, I would hope people would see that, we're doing the right thing, asking for professional help in the best avenue for the town. It's not just our wants and needs on this board that we're saying, hey, let's do this. We're looking to someone else to say, what's best for our town? And this is what our town's supposed to be. We're collecting data from our people. That's what our job kind of is. That's what I do it anyways is.
Yeah.
Getting out there, email us what you think, call us, tell us what you think, write us a letter.
Well, you can only try, and then
That's
that's
all
it.
we can
Just
do.
do an effort.
Yep.
To get information, get input, and then provide that input to the outside
Yep.
agency, hopefully, and then come up with something, and then you got a draft to go by.
And it's gonna go to the voters, they have the final say, and here we are. So,
I hope this will work out.
yeah, so I can do an email shout out to see where that, I'm gonna remember the name of the map that I need here. The map that Michaela was working on. It was the overall something map. Anywho, I'll do that, I'll send your knit to Peg, Don.
Okay,
And then if you guys are okay with, with Peg and I meeting and just kind of, and anyone else that wants to meet, we can say, tell you we're meeting. We're gonna probably meet on a weekend over coffee and bagels or something and just come up with some flyers.
I'm in the cookie business now. I started making cookies.
Cookies at
Chocolate
Don's
chip
house.
cookies. Well, I mean, my daughter-in-law visited, she made some. I said, well, that isn't that hard.
It's
So-
not.
And so now I'm in the chocolate chip business, but this last batch I made, the first of the two, was not quite as good. The second part was pretty good. So I'm improving.
There you go.
Oh, so we're gonna have a cookie party, right?
Yeah, I can
Alright,
cook chocolate
alright.
chips if I make
So
them.
when we get time, we're gonna sit down, I can do a blast out that, hey, we're gonna try to do flyers or something, or if anyone has any thoughts, something anything pops in anyone's head for a flyer, give a shout out. I'm gonna start collecting graphics and, I'll look into the other towns and see how they got information out there and what their response was, because that is curious. 22% is not bad, but it's really no different than what we're getting.
When will our next meeting be? The
Um,
23rd?
the 23rd, I can tell you, I cannot make the 23rd, so Peg would have to, someone else will have to run the meeting. So it would be the 23rd is our next meeting. I have a school board meeting that night. So as of right now, that is, we're going into negotiations. So I
Good
can't
luck.
miss that one.
So well, just tell me when it is. I don't care. I mean,
23rd would be the next one unless anyone else has conflict.
Okay. Look,
I mean, right now, their ORC is not meeting, so the following the 30th would be available if anyone has
I'm
issues.
available there too if you want.
I will not be.
23rd, okay with everyone?
23rd.
It's fine.
Okay, all right, 23rd it is, and like I said, someone else can lead the meeting, but again, it's probably just gonna go over again, maybe flyers that have been created, the surveys will have gone out. I'm sure, I don't know if we'll see a draft of it before Lindsay. Oh, and I did, that one question that none of us could come to agreement on. It was it was this,
What was
that question at the bottom of the sheet that no one could agree on, how to word it. I pulled it completely.
Okay.
Figure we're gonna have another survey later on.
Yeah,
Maybe
you
this
put it in
data will give us a better way to phrase it. So I
Sure.
pulled that one question that no one could really agree on. I didn't want to go there. I want, nope, we're just gonna leave it alone. And that was it. So I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Yep.
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned. Okay, shut this down.
Okay.